She asked, "Why don't you have a girlfriend?" and I laughed, pretending it was just another casual question from her. But the truth burned inside me, sharper than I could hide. The truth was simple: I didn't have a girlfriend because I had fallen for her. The same girl sitting across from me, twirling her coffee cup, smiling like she didn't just stab my heart with that one innocent question. I wanted to tell her. God, I wanted to tell her. But how do you confess to someone who only sees you as a friend? How do you risk the one person who makes the world feel less heavy? We'd known each other for years. Emma was the kind of person who brought light into every room she entered. She was funny, unpredictable, and painfully kind. She'd talk about her dreams like they were already coming true: becoming a writer, traveling the world, finding someone who understood her heart. Every time she spoke about that someone, I'd feel this strange ache in my chest, like my soul was trying to tell me something I refused to hear out loud. It all started that night in the rain, after one of her breakups. She'd shown up at my doorstep crying, soaked through, her mascara running. I didn't ask questions, just wrapped her in a blanket and made tea. She leaned on my shoulder, whispered, "Why is love so hard?" And all I wanted to say was, "It's not when it's you," but instead, I just said, "You'll find someone better." She smiled weakly, unaware that I was silently screaming inside. Days turned into months. We grew closer than ever. We had movie nights, late-night drives, and moments that felt almost like something more, almost. Sometimes she'd fall asleep beside me on the couch, and I'd stay awake just to memorize the way her hand rested near mine. But every time I thought about confessing, I remembered her words, "You're the only guy I can truly be myself with, like a brother." And that one word, brother, became a wall I could never climb. Then came that question, the one that broke me. "Why don't you have a girlfriend?" she asked one afternoon, her tone light but curious. I looked up from my phone, caught off guard. She was scrolling through photos on her camera, her hair falling over her face. I could have told her the truth right there. I could have said, "Because no one else makes me feel the way you do." But instead, I shrugged and joked, "Maybe I'm just waiting for someone who can tolerate me." She laughed, that soft, musical laugh I loved, and said, "She'll be lucky when she finds you." And all I could do was smile, pretending her words didn't hurt. Time passed, and things changed. She started dating again. A guy named Daniel, smart, confident, charming. Everything I wasn't. She told me how happy she was, and I tried to be happy for her. I really did. But every time I saw them together, I felt something inside me crack. It wasn't jealousy, not exactly. It was loss. The kind you feel for something that was never yours to begin with. One night, she called me crying again. "He cheated," she said through sobs. I found myself driving across town before I could think. When I reached her apartment, she fell into my arms like she always did. And I held her, heartbreaking and healing at the same time. "You deserve better," I whispered. "You always have." She looked up at me then, eyes red, voice shaking, and said, "Then why doesn't anyone love me the way I love them?" I wanted to shout, "I do. I have, but instead, I said nothing. Because sometimes silence is safer than truth. But silence can also destroy. A few months later, Emma got an offer to move abroad, a writing internship in Paris. I was proud of her, but terrified. I knew that if she left, I might never get another chance. On her last night before leaving, we sat by the lake, the same place where we'd spent countless evenings talking about life. The stars were scattered like confessions waiting to be made. She turned to me and said, "I'm really going to miss you." I forced a smile. "Paris is lucky," I said. "It's getting the best of us." She laughed softly, then leaned her head on my shoulder. For a moment, everything was quiet except for the sound of water and my racing heartbeat. That was my moment, the one chance I had to tell her. But fear won. I let her go without ever saying it. She flew away the next morning, and with her, she took a part of me I never got back. Months went by. We texted less. Time zones, new lives, distance, they all built walls between us. Then, one night, I got a message, I'm getting married. My chest tightened. I smiled at the screen, typed, I'm so happy for you, and stared at it for a long time before hitting send. But life is strange. 2 years later, I saw her again. She was back in town, newly single, a little older, but still with that same glow. We met at the same coffee shop where it all began. She smiled and said, "You still don't have a girlfriend?" I laughed softly. "No," I said. "Guess I'm still waiting." She looked at me for a long moment, something unspoken in her eyes. "You're still the same," she whispered. And in that silence, for the first time, she seemed to understand. I finally told her everything, how every laugh, every hug, every shared secret had meant more to me than she'd ever known. There were tears, there were pauses, there was truth. She didn't say anything for a while, just reached out and took my hand. "You should have told me," she said quietly. "Maybe I was waiting for you too." That night, we didn't need promises or perfect words. Just honesty, raw and overdue. Years later, when people ask how we fell in love, I tell them, it started with a question. Because sometimes, love doesn't begin when you say it out loud. It begins the moment you realize you can't. And if you're watching this, maybe you've been there too, loving someone silently, afraid of ruining what's already beautiful. But let me tell you something, life's too short for maybes. If you love someone, tell them. Because you never know, they might just be waiting for you to find the courage to speak.